Hey, it's Bill, and you're tuned into the Pennsylvania Rock Show, featuring the best unsigned rock and metal that Pennsylvania has to offer. Right here on PARockshow.com, MegaRockRadio.net, 107.1 FM, St. Louis, Missouri, RooterooRadio.com, across the border into Canada at altrock.ca, and across the pond to the United Kingdom at xrpradio.co.uk, and of course right here in Leechburg, Pennsylvania, where I'm sitting tonight on buildthescene.com. This is episode number 521, and with me tonight, use your face there. You have over 1,000, don't you?
I don't have over 1,000 episodes. I have over 1,000 interviews, but yeah.
521 tonight. With me tonight is Hugh from Hugh Shows. What's up, Hugh?
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having me, man.
So I was telling someone earlier, see, I'm veering already, that Hugh and I started the same year, 2004, and just recently came across each other as far as actually carrying on a conversation. And there's other things that align with us too. We're both teachers.
We are both teachers. That's right.
Both into the local music scene. Both do interviews.
Both
lots of cool stuff.
Both needs beard trim.
Yes. My wife hates this.
Mine does too. But that's 2004, you started, and we just recently got in touch because of the pandemic. I was doing my show down at PCTV Studios on the north side for 5 years. And since I wanted to continue the show, I had no idea how to do it. None. And you helped a lot, and I so appreciate it. And
no problem.
That's why you're listed as a technical advisor.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. That's awesome.
And the credits to all the shows that I've been doing since. So thanks.
I watched them most of the way through, and I've never finished them. So now I need to finish one.
Well, they're not in the credits. It's in the description of the on YouTube. Yeah.
Cool. So, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you took the time out one night, and I had a few beers, and I woke up the next morning. I'm like, what did he say? What do I do? But yeah, you definitely helped me out.
For those of you that are tuned in live, if you have any questions for Hugh as we go, you can type them right there in the comment section on Facebook. And if I feel they go along with what we're doing, I will ask them. Hugh, you can actually see them as well. I don't know if you see that on your screen.
I do not see anything on my. Oh yeah, the chat.
Yep.
The live comments. Hold on. Yeah.
Yep. There's nothing in there yet, but
come on, everyone. I know there's 3 people watching on my watch party.
Yeah.
So they can ask whatever they want, but they can't see these comments, so we can discern if it's appropriate or not, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, you be the judge of that.
So I'm going to start off with a question that you ask yourself right on your website, Hugh.
Okay.
And that's why Hugh Shows.
Why Hugh Shows? And the reason why I have that question, why Hugh Shows, is because I was with a friend of mine discussing the building of the website that I was doing, and it was just going to be about Hugh Shows. So again, after a couple beers, he was like, "Oh, you should have it why Hugh Shows with a question mark. It'd be different, even though it's an about Hugh Shows."
It was the first thing I clicked on.
Yeah. So it's just basically about what I've been doing and my history. So that's why it's why Hugh Shows. I stuck with it. I thought it was a unique idea. Maybe to separate from just an about thing. So yeah, why Hugh Shows? That's why.
So on your website, it mentions that you started out taking photos of the local music scene. How did that develop into what you're doing now, and what enticed you to try and capture the music scene originally? The
original thought was I was getting into music hardcore. I've always been a music fan. I've always been to concerts. I've been to concerts since I was 11. And I, after a while, I started to get into indie bands, discovering these bands, not even from Pittsburgh, but, that were touring from all over the place, but coming through Pittsburgh. And one of the things that I got into a band called Songs Ohio, and Jason Molina, that's his moniker. That was his moniker for Songs Ohio. I never saw a real good picture of him performing live. I couldn't find one back then, in the early aughties. And so I was like, well, maybe, there's a chance for somebody to document what's going on in Pittsburgh music. And that was the impetus. So basically, I ended up actually photographing him a couple times. I saw him a couple times, and I have a couple of real sweet photos of him. One photo is at Garfield Artworks, and it's just like one of my favorite photos. If I send it to you, maybe you could splash it on the screen in the editing process. And then there's another photo that I saw him at, I believe it was the 31st Street Pub, and Grand Buffet opened for him, and they played a song with him at the end of their set, Songs Ohio set, Running with the Devil by Van Halen. And there's a nice picture of them with him. So I thought, hey, somebody should document what's going on in Pittsburgh music, and that's what I started.
That's something else we have in common. The photo behind me on my green screen is one that I took of a band called X Factor One out of Ohio.
Yeah. Okay.
But the photography thing was always kind of in the background for me, but recently became more in the forefront. And then the pandemic hit, so now it's in the background again.
That's the exact opposite of me. The photography that's all I did, and I did a lot. I did a ton of shows, more than I'm embarrassed to say. I would go out 2 or 3 times a week and run between venues every night. So I have thousands or hundreds and hundreds of shows. But then I got a new camera, and then I started going away from that, just because I noticed that anytime that somebody toured, you get the first 3 songs from the pit or whatever, and then they're pretty much wearing the same thing, and it's just the same.
So everybody has the same shots.
It's the same shots, so it wasn't unique. So I would do things different. Like I would get signed CDs and set lists and stuff, but then everybody had that. So I started drawing the musicians I would see and make prints of them. And when I mean prints, I mean I would just print them off a computer in inkjet. But and then that was unique. And then
let me interject here for a second.
Sure.
Tell everybody what you teach.
I teach visual arts. I've been a teacher for 22 years. I teach at the Alternative High School in Pittsburgh. It's a school where students, if they get kicked out of their regular high school for any reason, or if they're trying to make up credits for any loss of time that they had throughout their school career, they come to us. And so I've been there for 16 years, 17 now. So I've been there for 17 years, and I love it because I student taught there when I was in college.
Oh, nice.
And so it's just a general basic visual arts class, because the majority of the students, they don't, as an elective, they don't choose art. So I just have them complete the elective, through art, basically. Yeah.
It just kind of applies to what you're doing in the scene. So I figure we should let everybody know that you have that background.
Yeah, well, I definitely had that background. And so, photography, I just picked up the camera and learned trial by fire, like just going to shows. And early on, my photos are junk, but I was having a good time. I enjoyed it. So it eventually got better, and then you just get better and better. Just practice makes perfect. And but then I'm steering away from that because, I'm getting older and going out and standing in line or waiting for a band to come on, and it's just not where my heart is. So doing other things, the blog was one. So I've been doing the blog since 2004, but I do interviews, and now the TV show, You know, I've been putting my energies into that, and I also do the Deutschtown Music Festival. I curate 400 bands for the festival every year, so it's just evolving. So I do less and less photography. You know, it's amazing. I haven't shot one show this year because of the pandemic too.
I've shot one.
Yeah, because of the pandemic, but my interest isn't even into shooting anymore. It's weird. And my camera broke.
Oh,
You know, I broke a lens, and I'm like, am I gonna? The camera's not broken, but the lens that I use, the nifty 50, the
50 millimeter,
the 1.2, baby.
Wow.
It's the only thing to take in a club because of the low light level. So that broke, and I could get it fixed for $100, but I'm just like, you know, I don't know, not into it. Plus, my camera's so old. I think I bought it in 2012. It was a top of the line back then, and
what do you shoot with?
I shoot a Canon. It's a 7D, and it's like
That's what I have.
yeah, and it's a good camera. I mean, but it is old. You know, if I was really into it, I'd be totally like investing thousands of dollars into doing it. But my interests are veering towards different things. You know,
Mine was actually given to me by Jonna from First Angel Media.
Oh, nice.
I used to shoot with the Fuji films. It was a DSLR, but it was a pretty low level one. And
lots of grain.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And like I've always been, and looking back on it, like I've always been good at framing, but I just couldn't get like the colors and the lights right.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out it was because I wasn't using the right equipment.
Right. And you learn.
Yep.
You learn about that stuff. Like, you know, yeah, you got your composition down. And I always like my biggest thing about composition, photographing a musician, is trying to get the microphone not covering their face. And it's like if they look down at their guitar and, you know, you see their whole face, then that's the shot I'll get. But somebody said to me, well, like that's like showing a guitar player without their guitar, not showing the guitar. And I go, no, it's totally different, you know. So there's different aesthetics to it. It's a personal thing, but you know, I always worked to try to get this microphone out. And even with the show, my audio engineer Dan Yost, he sets up the mic for the performer, and we set up the camera. And I'm like, can you bring that mic down? I don't want to, you know. And he's like, well, then you won't hear him. And I go, okay, well, I guess that's the compromise.
Yeah, that's my dynamic. Whoops, turned it off for a second. My dynamic mic, I can put it out of the shot, but then I'm going to sound like I'm in a can.
Yeah, and that's why I got, you know, that's another reason I think you helped me out, or somebody did, about getting this little preamp. Dan said, get a preamp and a microphone. I had a microphone and the mic stand. It'll just sound a little better. It won't be professional, but it'll sound, you know, it'll sound somewhat better than just using your computer microphone. But then I discovered, like, I've been doing a bunch of shows at home, and like the last 5 shows, I'm like, why do I sound funny? Because I didn't have this thing plugged in.
So it was using them.
It was using the computer one
mic.
anyway. So yeah,
I did that 2 shows ago. I didn't realize I had my switch off.
Right.
And I pulled it out to extract it from the video, and I was like, why does it sound so bad?
Yeah, it sounds hollow and whatever.
I sounded bad. The guests sounded great.
yeah. And that's another thing. The one I'm doing, I use Zoom. I know you're doing StreamYard and OBS, and I didn't even. And you gave me help on that, and I was like, I'm not dealing with that, you know. So I just use Zoom, and you know, sometimes the interviews are you can't check levels. During, I can't hear myself, but I can hear them. I'm like, it sounds good, and a couple of them are pretty disastrous, but you know, we live and learn.
What are you editing the audio in?
I don't. They send me the audio. So that's another thing.
From Zoom, yeah.
Yeah, from Zoom. The first couple episodes with Scott and Rosanna and Scratchy Blanket, I was like, okay, go ahead, play. And when you play it, the instrument takes away from the audio, it compensates, and it can't, you know. So then a buddy of mine, Joe Hale, who's in a band called 10 Years Later, he said, hey, he called me and he's like, or no, Mac Inglis said, hey, this audio you have, I'm going to give you a couple tips. And he's in Buffalo Rose. I'm going to give you a couple tips for your show, because I want it to sound as best as can. So he helped. And then my buddy Joe Hale, he said, why don't you have the performers tape their performances and then send it to you? And then just edit it in. So that's all what I've been doing. So when I send out the the invite, or people submit to be on the show, I say, look, we're just going to talk for 15 minutes and we're going to pretend that you're going to play a song, but really I'm just going to edit it in when you send it to me later. Same camera angle, same clothes, but then, people know that it's not happening there. There's an edit. So it's no big deal.
Well, I have the same types of conversations, but mine is about editing their song into the audio. So,
well, what do you mean? Like edit?
So when I have a band on,
Yeah.
we'll do the first segment of questions like we're doing now.
Right.
And then I will ask them to tell me about their song.
Okay.
And then in the post, I actually edit the song in. So it's like a radio show. So we talk about the song and then it fades out and their song plays. And then we come back as if we're doing another segment.
Same thing. But
yeah.
What do you show? Just the album cover?
No. So this video is going to stay. I won't edit this video, but I grab the audio and I edit the audio and turn it into the podcast and radio show. Right.
But when you're playing their song, are you both just sitting there listening to the song?
So I don't even play it.
Okay.
So we say we're going to play it, and then I tell the live listeners, like the ones that are listening tonight, like, well, if you want to hear the song, you're going to have to go listen to it on one of the stations.
Okay. So then when you go to so it's just audio only.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
But
okay.
I also, this video will be embedded at the bottom of the show notes, so they can go and watch the video too if they want.
Right. Okay, I get it. Oh, that's nice. And so it's their studio recording.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's nice. But what I like about my show is it's a live music show, and that's the most important part is the music. So Dan Yost from Just Records has been helping me out for 5 years. We come into the studio at PCTV. He sets up all the mics and he records and he takes it back to the studio and he mixes, masters it, or whatever he does. And then I send the audio back to PCTV, and that's why it sounds as it does. And so dealing with this at home, I'm not an audio guy. So the bands, they take care of the audio for the video. And some send me MP3s, but some of them, like I just had Flub Dub on and they were great. It sounded great, so.
I used to, where I'm sitting right now, the bands used to set up in this room and we would stream. It was just a radio show at that point, and we would stream it live and they would play right here in my living room, and it would go out as we were doing it.
So who would be the audio engineer? One of the band, you. So do you know how to do levels and mic?
Yeah, I'm not nearly as good at it as I was then, because I was doing it weekly then.
Yeah.
Now I do it occasionally.
Like, are we talking full rock bands with drums and electric guitars and stuff? Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a hard thing. It's to make it sound good. I don't know how to do it. And so, it's interesting.
I had some help. I had a friend who has since passed away. He owned a company called Total Music and Entertainment out of Penn Hills. And his company would run front of house at Star Lake, or whatever they call it now. Yeah. And so he would listen, and we're talking early 2004. So he was listening on dial-up, and he would send me messages through AOL Instant Messenger and say, hey, the lead guitar needs to come up a little. So I learned how to mix from a professional, but he was through AOL Instant Messenger. So
that's great. That's great. And it's weird. Like 2004 seems so archaic now as far as technology goes, but look what you were able to do, Yeah, that's crazy. It is. It's crazy. Like I just mentioned the other day, like, because of the pandemic, I didn't realize, I guess I knew I had a camera on my computer, but like everybody has a camera now. and everybody has access to Zoom or StreamYard or wherever they're using. It's just everybody. It's crazy, you know?
There are actually 3 cameras in front of me right now.
So why? Because you're using 3 different platforms?
Well, I have the one on my laptop, which is, you can't see my hands over this way.
Yeah.
And then I did a review of a camera for a company called Amcrest, and they let me keep it, and its colors aren't that great. And my wife does Facebook Live selling paparazzi jewelry, so the colors have to be good. So we actually just bought a Logitech camera, which is what I'm using tonight.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm just using
that's the one I reviewed.
Well, that is the best kept secret about doing media, like a blog or anything. Like I went into years ago, the blog was running for like 5 years or whatever by then. And I went into the store and I wanted to buy a book on Pink Floyd, Gerald Scarf, who's the animator for The Wall and stuff and works with Pink Floyd. I'm like, oh, I love Pink Floyd. I want this book. I love art. It's $40. My wife said, here, I'll get it for you for Christmas. That day I went and emailed the publisher and said, I have a music blog. I'd like to review the book and expose your product to my listeners. And they sent it to me. And then I did a review. And so I started doing that with a bunch of books. And I even did it with like CF cards for camera. So I had that. And I just did it today because I'm getting, every summer I get deep dive into a classic band, and I'm really getting into David Bowie and all his material. And there's like a 4-set magazine from this publisher that's like $70 for 4 magazines on his career. And I'm like, I almost hit send to buy it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna say, hey, I have a popular music blog in Pittsburgh, #1 music blog, because there is no other music blog. Kind of beef it up a little bit and then see what happens.
I haven't done it often. I've done it twice. I reviewed a book, the band book by Heath Kip, who's from the Pittsburgh area.
Okay,
and that camera.
Yeah,
the camera works good for what I'm doing,
but
it doesn't work well for what she's doing.
Were you that honest in the review?
I was.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And it's actually on my YouTube channel if you want to watch it.
yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
But if they weren't sitting here side by side or she was using it, I would use the other one. Like if you look at my videos, you won't know. But when she's holding up something and saying it's hot pink and it looks pale pink,
that's important.
That doesn't.
Yeah, hot pink like my face right now. Because I explained, like, I could turn off this red light and I could turn off this purple light right here, and so it'll be like whatever. But I just put it on for a little psychedelic effect, whatever.
So having done Hugh shows for 15, almost 16 years, you have gotten a lot of accolades. Looking at your website, and the Pittsburgh made a day for you.
City Council, they designated July 18th, 2014 Hugh Twyman Day in Pittsburgh. That was 10 years to the day when I logged on as Hugh Shows. And I have to give credit to Jeff Benton, because he's the one who wrote my councilwoman. And he's and he's like, hey, this guy does so much for the arts, in particular the music community. He should get his a day in the city or whatever. And my councilwoman Teresa Cale Smith was like, oh yeah, he's in my district. Yeah, let's do it. So it was funny. I went down with a bunch of my family, and they were giving another proclamation that day to all the chefs of the foodie scene before me. So like, I didn't know any of them except Kevin Souza. He was there because of opening up these foodie or not. I don't even know what these new restaurants. So they were all getting a day in the city, and it was interesting. I guess anybody could get one.
So there's a little food truck scene here where I live,
Uh-huh.
and I'm kind of in the middle of it because I run one of the websites for one of the bigger trucks. So it's funny that comes up.
yeah. And it was weird that they were getting, their own day, but it's cool, But yeah, it's totally cool, and it was fun. And anything that I do for Hugh Shows is fun. I do it because I enjoy doing it. If I don't enjoy doing it, like schlepping out to concerts and taking pictures anymore, I've been there, done that. I can't tell you how many rooms I've been in multiple times. I used to be up at Brillo Box and almost would see my footprints on the floor because I stood in that same spot for so many hours, So it just got not fun anymore, to find parking and
so over the 15, almost 16 years. By the way, you just beat me. You said July 18th was your first one.
Yep.
Mine was September 14th.
Yeah, well, July, this coming July, it'll be 16. But yep. I've been seeing shows before that. I logged on, like I didn't know it was originally called Hugh's Concert Pages, and that was the very first. But then I said, I was talking to somebody, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to call it Hugh Shows because if you Google it, nothing comes up Hugh Shows. So, I did that. But yeah, I have you by a couple months.
I started working with local bands in '96, but I didn't really end up with my own thing.
No, well then you got me beat. You definitely got me beat because I was seeing bands, but I wasn't. And it was a while even after I started that I even like noticed local bands. And this is a story I tell all the time. Like I couldn't care less about the local openers, and I saw a few here and there, and I was like, no, I'm here to see the national bands. I'm here to document them coming through Pittsburgh. And then I was at a show at the Quiet Storm. I just went out with my wife, and I happened to have my camera, and I saw Emily Rogers' band. And Emily, I was like, wow, she was fantastic. She's from Pittsburgh. Oh my gosh, maybe I should start paying attention to some of these local bands. And then it gradually became, that's all I did. I didn't even care about national bands at one near, the last part of my photographic career. And it's not over, but I'm just not interested anymore.
I started out designing websites for local bands. And it eventually morphed into what we're doing tonight.
Yeah, everything morphs. You know what I mean? Because probably the same thing with you. It's like after you do something for a while, it gets to be stale. Even the show. I love doing the show, but it's after 50 episodes in the studio, 53 episodes in the studio, I still enjoy it, but there's only so much you can change on it. You know what I mean? It's like almost the same. And even with these I call them SDTV, social distance television shows, they're cool, but they're definitely same. You know what I mean? Like even at PCTV, I get to play with backgrounds and green screen and 3 camera setup, and it's cool. But I do it just because I know it's important to the bands. I know that it's an outlet that is unique, that they get to have to spread the word about their music and to perform, and they're really appreciative, and that's why I still do it, And I love discovering new music. That's, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's people. I did a guest host on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus a couple weeks ago. Are you familiar with that show?
No. Are they local?
It's out of Cannonsburg.
Okay. Yeah.
And they do they play local bands, but the theme of each night is usually, like, their last theme was vocalists that are getting up there in age but can still sing really well. And
There's not many.
no,
with the same octaves they started
right,
when they were
right.
in their 20, right?
So they play local music, but they discuss the majors. But
Okay.
so they were like trying to get me involved. They're like, well, what do you think about this band? I'm like, look, I really only listen to local stuff now.
Yeah.
I was like, I can tell you about the best drummer that's from my area if you want.
Yeah. No, that's funny because I listen. I don't know if I'm getting older or what, but I'm getting, romanticized about my younger youth. I have Sirius XM and I listen to the 80s channel a lot, and I love classic rock and I love deep tracks. And, it's like, I like older stuff that I grew up with. But I still, through the discovery of local music through the show is amazing. It's amazing. Like some of these bands, like, oh my gosh, they're so good,
I agree.
And through Deutschtown, which is another thing. Like Deutschtown, we have 500 submissions, and every year I get to listen to all of them. And I'm like, wow, who's this band? And there's always at least 10 bands that I've heard of most of them, right? I've heard of a lot of them, but there's always 10 bands that really like, blow my socks off, and I'm like, oh man, this is great. So yeah, it's great.
So I'm not going to pin you down to one, but what are some of your favorite moments that you've had on Hugh shows?
The TV show?
Yep.
The first episode was awesome because we had meeting of important people, and it was like a demo show. It was a pilot because I didn't know how to actually do it, but we got a whole bunch of other musicians to sing background on the chorus, and we did that show in one take. There was like one take each time. Like the band, it was amazing. Like now we do like a couple takes for each band, but so that stands out. I really enjoy the third show with Morgan Arena. I thought she came in, and the way Jay Vega, who was doing my audio at the time, really mixed that well. And then I had to change it up. Jay Vega, who was my audio guy for a while, he said that he couldn't do after like 9 episodes. He was like, I just can't commit to it because I live out in Cranberry and I can't come in every month. So Dan Yost, who had been his assistant, he took over as the audio engineer, and so he was like, I don't have the technology or the inputs or the equipment to do full bands. So we did a couple like solo acoustic things to warm it up, but then after a while he was like, oh, I think we could get a full band in here with drums, and so those shows are cool. And then I was doing season 3 or 4, he was like, you know what, I can't commit to every month. So I said, okay, well, we'll have live shows, acoustic shows. And so those are interesting. I enjoy those down at the studio. And now these shows, these, from home shows, like I'll do this forever. I'll do this for whatever. I'm not allowed actually in PCTV because because of the virus. They're open, but they're having a strict guidelines, and one of the guidelines is you can't have anybody except the director in the control room. And I said, well, I go in the control room because I it's my show, I produce it, and you can only have one person in the studio. And I said, well, I have a sound guy, I have me on camera, I have another cameraman, and I have 5 band members. So that's like, for the foreseeable future, I'm not going to be doing any PCTV shows. Hopefully I'll be able to once this is all over. I'll definitely want to still do it, but it's just like I can't do it. So I don't know. We're all adapting to different things, and this is another change that I'm interested in. Like improving on it and getting it as best as I can. And just I've done almost 20 shows from these remote shows, so I want to get to 100. 100 shows would be pretty cool, but we'll see.
Well, that's the I for Christmas I got a sports camera that you can plug in and use as a webcam.
Okay.
And my plan was to use it when I went out to shows and record a couple songs or record interviews. Well, I didn't do anything with it until the pandemic hit. And then I was like, I could probably use this to do my interviews. And now we're on camera number 3.
So, okay, so you mentioned this before. You have 3 cameras facing you right now.
Yeah, only one of them's on.
Oh, okay. So you're not going to sit there and edit like different shots. Okay,
no.
which is the fun of PC TV is there's 3 cameras.
Yeah, that can be done with OBS, but me doing the interview and trying to run OBS, it's not.
No,
like when my wife does her lives, I'm sitting on the other side of the desk with the laptop and running the different screens.
Yeah, so you're the engineer and you're helping her out. Yeah, like I don't have anybody.
When I'm doing mine, she's in the bedroom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, mine's upstairs. She's, but and I have to, say my wife and my kids have been so forgiving throughout this whole Hugh Shows thing. Like they were little kids and I was out running around, and she still gives me heck for, well, remember when, blah blah blah. She'll bring up a certain date. You went to see the old 97s, and I'm like, oh, really? You remember that? You're bringing that up now, Great. But even during these shows, I started while the girls, my daughter is in college and one's in high school, and so they would FaceTime or Zoom, and we'd all have to kind of be quiet. And then when I do it, they're quiet. So,
Yep. My kids are all probably in my daughter's room right now.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
You have 3 kids? Cool.
Yep. I have my son just turned 12 6 days ago.
Okay.
And my daughters are twins, and they'll be 10 in August.
10 in August, 6 days ago. What date?
The 18th.
That's me.
Oh,
I'm
well,
June
happy
18th.
birthday.
Yeah, tell him happy birthday. All right. Gemini.
All right. So I have one more question for you in this segment, and then we're going to listen to a couple tracks and we'll come back.
Okay.
All right. So my question to you is, how does a band go about getting on Hugh Shows?
That's a very good question, and I Hugh Shows right now. Well, how they did get on, I would just listen to bands that interested me. I was only doing one a month, and so there's so many bands, but I was listening to a lot of bands, and so I would ask them, do they want to be on the show? And a lot of them said yes, but a lot of bands said no. They had to decline because we could only tape on Thursdays from 5 to 8 p.m. And it was a horrible time for bands because a lot of them have day jobs, but then they either practice or they teach music during that time. So it was interesting that there's a lot of bands on my list that I wanted that I couldn't get for the studio show. But for now, I have a submission link in any band, and I'm taking some bands that aren't even in Pittsburgh because we're able to do this. I did a Joel Jerome from Los Angeles. I used to see him back in the day, and and so he did one, and I just did Dan McCoy, which is coming out on Friday. Dan McCoy in the I think Standing Eights. He's from Cleveland, so I'll do any band. But there's a submission link that's actually on my Twitter. It's pinned to my Twitter, so it's just a submission form to tell me all your information so I can prepare for the show. So if I give you the link, you could show it maybe down on the bottom. Or I'll go to HUGHSHOWS.com and I'll have it on the main page.
Yep. And that is listed. I can't get my hand in the shot down there.
Yeah, it's right there, right there. Hugh Shows. Yeah. So, but if I, but there's a certain link. It's a Google Doc, and you just sign up, and anybody. I share it all the time, and then I have a couple scheduled coming up, and I'll do. I did 3 in one day, and it was great. So we'll see.
I actually, you mentioned doing bands that aren't from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So this show has Pennsylvania in its title and rock. So I kind of pigeonholed myself when I named this.
Yeah.
So what I did was about a year and a half ago. Wait, let me do this again. No, 2.5 years ago. I realized that I wanted to interview bands that weren't from Pennsylvania and maybe bands that aren't rock or metal. So I started another podcast, and that one's called 3 Questions and a Song, and that's any genre from anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's awesome. No,
so,
I do any genre. I was just interviewing Chad Sipes, and he mentioned that he noticed that I do anyone and everyone. Like I will interview any or have any artist on that who want to be on, whether they're country. It doesn't matter what genre. And what stuck with me was like early on, I always go to Bandcamp and I always tag Pittsburgh and see what's up. And I found this artist and I'm like, oh, I like this stuff. So I contacted them. Ends up she's like a 17-year-old girl doing stuff in her basement or in her bedroom, like ukulele songs, but she was so excited to do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. It doesn't matter.
all right, so we're going to take a break, listen to probably 2 tracks. And of course, I didn't do my homework tonight, so I don't know who we're going to play.
Is it going to be local?
It will be local.
Okay, then is it going to be metal?
Hard
rock, or are you going to switch it up?
It could be anything from acoustic rock clear up to metal.
Okay. Well, maybe I get to pick later. No.
Do you have a request? If I have it, I'll play it.
Well, I do have a request. Los Vampiros Amarillos, because they were supposed to be on the show, and I scheduled them, and play their song.
I don't have it, but that's an awesome shout out for them.
Yeah. Hey guys, sorry, and I'm
now they can send me music because now we're putting them on the spot. Where is it?
yeah, cool.
All right, so we're gonna get quiet for just a second. If you're tuned in, and there are a few of you, to hear the music that's going to get played, you will have to listen to the show. You can either go to parockshow.com or one of the streaming sites that I mentioned at the beginning, and listen to it on a streaming radio station. Or if you're in St. Louis, you can listen to it on the radio, which is kind of odd.
That's awesome.
All right, so I'm going to bring us back in. All right, that was some of the best unsigned rock that Pennsylvania has to offer. With me tonight on episode number 521 is Hugh Twyman from Hugh Shows. We had a conversation about where he came from, where his shows come from, and my next question, we're gonna move away from the music scene on this question, Hugh.
Okay.
What are some things you enjoy that aren't scene related?
Like stuff I like to do that has nothing to do with Hugh Shows.
Yep.
What do I like to do? You know what I really like to do, and I love to do it, is go grocery shopping. My neighbor who just passed away, he wasn't capable of going grocery shopping, so I would do it for him every week. I just enjoy. I don't know why. So my wife and I will go. And I'll sometimes I say, oh, I'll go instead. But since the pandemic, I hate it. Since the pandemic started, it's like one of my joys that has been taken away. So I'm getting a little better, as I'll still wear a mask and I won't be like so crazed, but or anxious about it. But I love grocery shopping, which is weird. I love reading. I love reading history. Like I love reading nonfiction, and I am slowly and purposely slowly going through the Oxford History of the United States. And there's about 10 volumes, and they are like this thick, and they're dense, and it's like each page is like, so you have to pay attention. But I love finding out, where we came from and how we became who we are. And it's what I'm finding is so striking that what we are going through today is nothing new. It's so relevant to how we began. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Especially like I'm only up into like just a little past the War of 1812. And so it's like like which, different things strike me, like this political division that's in the country that occurred with Adams and Jefferson. I mean,
right off the bat.
Right off the bat, like
as soon as George got out of office, they started forming them.
Right, and it like people would despise each other who were lifelong friends. They would walk across the street if they saw them because they had different political views. But what's really going to interest me is like I'm getting into the racism and the deep embedded racism in this country, and why it's and it's helping me understand what's happening now, like the seismic shift of reparations, and why Black Lives Matter, and what the systemic racism within not only the police but in culture in general, because I see it. I teach in the inner city, and I've been exposed to it for 22 years, but it comes from our history, and it comes from where we were, and it's just helpful to understand what's going on, and I just enjoy it. I just
you really just set up a question that I wasn't planning on asking that I have in my repertoire.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask it.
Sure.
Last year, the last 4 years, I've been teaching social studies, and last year I was flipping through the fourth grade book, and there was a picture in there, and the guy had died in the 50s, but he looked exactly like my college roommate.
Wow.
So I sent him a text with the picture and said, "Hey, what are you doing in my book?"
Yeah.
But
did he agree?
Oh yeah, he was.
Okay.
I asked him if he was.
People send me pictures all the time, and they're like, "Look, here's your doppelganger," and I'm like, "No, that doesn't look anything like me." But I did find in a textbook some years ago. I should have saved it. Somebody sitting on a kid sitting on the bike, and I was at that age, and I was like, "Wow, that does look like me." But
so, I sent him the picture and asked him if he was a time traveler. And
right.
And his response was no, but damn.
Yeah, so he agreed. Yeah.
So my question is, 10 years from now, kids are flipping through their social studies books, and they get to the section on the pandemic, and there's a picture of Hugh Twyman in there. Why would you be on those pages?
I definitely wouldn't. Because it wouldn't be not me, I don't know why, I just wouldn't. Not that. That's funny. Why do you think I would be, or was that just a general that's
a question I asked the bands.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be on there. In 10 years, maybe 20 years. How about that? Not because of the pandemic. I think, what I'm doing and what you're doing that does not go away, because what's important to me is like the blog and the TV show and the online show will never go away. And there will always be interest. Somebody who's not even born yet might be interested in what we're doing. You know what I mean? And they might be like, just that's what history is, And so that's something that I'm excited about, just to have it out there and just to be, doing it. But anything, because of the pandemic, I'm not doing anything special. I'm unfortunately, because there's certain things in my personal life that prohibit me from being exposed and going out and protesting, which I definitely would, but I just can't take the risk. So I won't be featured in any history book. Unless it's like some weird coincidence, like and when you say that, like you see somebody in a book or a magazine or online or something, I'm like, oh man, that looks exactly like so and so. As a visual artist and as a portraiture artist, I am very like I see my own my own lens of who looks like who, but I know a lot of people, you know, you look through those posts of like separated at birth, like you know, like whatever, a famous movie star from the past, an old picture. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't, but
Yeah.
you know, that's weird.
If you could give bands in the local scene any advice about being on a show like yours or mine or something similar, what would you suggest to them?
Oh, well, be enthusiastic about what you're doing and being positive. Like that goes so far. If you're positive about your art and your craft, and just don't be negative. Like, don't say, well, why aren't I doing this? Or why aren't I on the cover of the city paper? Or why aren't that? And I see that all the time. You just have to like, the power of positive thinking is immense. You know, it's like it totally, you know, I'm not getting you know, philosophical or
I feel like you're going into the self-fulfilling prophecy thing.
in a way, yeah. Like, you know, if you don't go towards it with a positive attitude, you know, I think that's a big hindrance. You can still make it, you can still do what you want, but you know, being positive goes a long way because people people catch up on that instantly. You know what I mean? Like if I was a jerk, or if I was like, um, you know, mean to people, I would never have gotten to where I've gotten, which is, you know, just where I want to be. It's not like I'm whatever, but I do it through positivity because I have to deal with a lot of negativity where I work. So I made that number one. Like I would have a show and somebody canceled at the last minute. I wouldn't get mad. I wouldn't get up, you know, I would just roll with it and just be, okay, that's okay. Like if somebody has to cancel something, or if somebody, that's okay. We'll do it next time. No big thing. So I learned to do that. And I think that applies to musicians, but with musicians, you know, it's their art, it's their thing. They have to create music that people want to hear. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
Like they have to write good songs, good enough that people want to hear. You know, if they're so in their head that why isn't anybody buying my album, and why isn't anybody coming out to see my show, and why, that's not positive, first of all, but second of all, because probably your music isn't as good as you think. You know what I mean? So that's a very general and very broad answer, but it's the truth. It is totally the truth. You know what I mean?
Okay, Hugh, I have one more question for you.
One more. That's it.
What is something about you that the people that have followed you over the past almost 16 years would be surprised to learn about you?
They would be surprised to learn that I could juggle and ride the unicycle at the same time.
That is awesome. I need to see a video though.
I will bust out the unicycle and I will show you. Yeah. I bought a unicycle years ago, and I taught myself how to ride it, and then I knew how to juggle. I taught myself how to juggle, and then I did it at the same time. And it's not, you know, whatever. It's not that good. It's not that interesting. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that, you know, I used to work in film and movie production. I worked on Silence of the Lambs. I worked on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I worked on, you know, a bunch of movies nobody heard of, but you know, it was fun. I saw 30 Grateful Dead shows in 10 years. So I'm Deadhead. What else? Yeah, I don't know. I like to go grocery shopping and read history books.
I couldn't hate grocery shopping anymore.
Ah, really? Like that's what I kind of want to do. Like I kind of want to retire. You know, I'm not going to be teaching forever. I would definitely do that as a part-time job, like grocery shop for people. I do it for free. Anyway,
Well,
you know, like, I did it with my neighbor. I love doing it
with Walmart and some other places, they actually have people they pay that, you know, you get online, you put in what you want, and they go and shop for you, and they bring it out to your car.
So that's interesting. Maybe I should do that during, you know, during the summer months. I like to keep busy doing other stuff, like, you know, but no, that's wild.
My wife loves it.
She loves shopping.
No, she loves letting them bring it out to the car.
I'll definitely have to look into that, because I don't know what it is. I don't want to keep harping on this shopping thing, but I you know, I find it interesting. I'm not a very good shopper. I buy the most expensive thing, and I buy like I totally random impulse buy stuff, and especially if I go hungry, and like forget it, you know. But I don't know. I just enjoy doing it.
Yeah, it's definitely not my thing, and even less so right now.
Yeah, well,
I have
warming
to touch
up to
that
it.
cart.
Yeah, no, see, yeah, like, and then that's another weird thing I wanted to talk on. Like, we're going into the green phase, and there's this whole thing, like, all these bands are like, hey, we're having a show, we're finally coming out, and it's like, you know, I'm not comfortable going out to a crowded bar, you know, to see a band right now. And, you know, I'm so comfortable wearing a mask, and even if it's a sense of, you know, protection, but I don't understand what this, you know, and some people are arguing for it, you know what I mean? Like Brian Sykes, he runs Start the Beat.
Yep,
with Sykes, yeah. So
Sykes,
he just
Sykes and the New Violence.
Yeah, Sykes and the New and Gray Walker.
Gray Walker, yeah.
Yeah, so he just posted a video like of his opinion, and he's like, he compared it to a roller coaster. If they're opening up amusement parks and you want to go on that roller coaster and you feel it's safe, go ahead. But he was like trying to explain, like, he's not against not going. He wants to go out and support not only the bands but the service workers and the bars and stuff. But you know, I'm not there yet. I'm totally not there yet. No, it's like just for the fact, if I go and I'm like, okay, because are these bars adhering to the 50% rule, or are they not? And I don't want to get there and be like, oh man, there's a whole crowded, they let more people in and nobody's wearing masks. Forget this. It's not worth it to me. So I don't know what like if it's outside at a winery with a big field,
right?
And
I might be able to do, but not shoulder to shoulder.
Right. And I'm having a dilemma because on HUGHSHOWS.com, I have a concert calendar. So it's hard to discern what's streaming. Well, not what's streaming, but it's hard to discern what type of event this will be. Will it be something that's crowded and in a bar? So I am actually going to take a break from even posting on the calendar.
I also have a calendar on buildthescene.com.
Yeah. Right.
And I haven't updated it since March 16th.
Yeah, I've updated it with online stuff only, but so maybe I'll just do online stuff, you know, until I'm comfortable, because I don't want to, and like these festivals, like I just don't understand how these festivals are moving ahead, but it's their decision. You know, we made the decision early on not to do Deutschtown. We were like, there's no way. It was, and we got some blowback from it. It's like, what do you mean? This is only, I think we announced in April, or you know, and we said, no way, there's no way that we can plan a festival, and it turns out I don't think we could have put it on. So I don't know.
Well, that's the Rock for Life series, is they're doing their Gigaroo and the Rock for Life, but that's in a big open field, and you know, that one, I think I can't go to the first one, Gigaroo, because it's my nephew's first birthday and I'll be in Bellefonte.
Okay.
Pretty sure I will be at the one in August.
So where is it? Where is it located?
It is in Island, Pennsylvania.
How far away is that?
From my house, it's about a half hour.
How far away from Pittsburgh?
About 45 minutes.
Oh, okay, so it's about an hour away. Okay, so it's an
hour. Do you know where Salzburg is?
Salzburg, no.
Kiski Prep?
No. See, I'm bad. I know where my daughter is.
You know where Indiana
on the
is?
Interview.
I see her.
Yeah.
You know where Indiana is?
Yeah.
IUP?
IUP, yeah.
It's maybe 15 minutes from Indiana.
Okay. Yeah, I if it's open and it's in, still it's like, I don't know. We're going up. The cases are going up as of today, so I don't know. I just don't, want to waste 3 months of hunkering down and then just blow it because, I want to go see a band. I don't think it's time. And this is my personal opinion, and I don't really malign anybody who has their own. I don't, but I do like wonder why people have to argue about wearing a mask. I mean, come on.
What I've been doing is if I'm going somewhere and I can keep myself at least 6 feet away from them, I don't put the mask on. But if it's in tight or it's a place that says that they would prefer to wear,
that's what I mean.
Then I put it on.
Oh yeah, I'm like if I'm walking my dog,
yeah,
I don't wear a mask. But if I'm going to a store that says you must be wearing a mask to enter, I'll put it on. And then you see people with it like, it's just like
covering their beard.
Yeah, it's like, come on, I don't know. That's when I don't like shopping.
But like there's an ice cream place near here that has food trucks, and I'm not going to put their name out there because I do their website as well. But when I go there, I almost always have the mask on because there's a lot of people in a small area.
Yeah, and it's just like the thing to me is it's empathy for your fellow human. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather have you wearing pants if you're pissing on my leg, so I won't get pissed on. Basically,
I have a story for you off the air now.
Okay.
You'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you, Bill. I appreciate it, man.
And for those of you that aren't familiar, it's HUGHSHOWS.com. And how often are you putting out episodes?
Oh, I've been going crazy with the I put 20 out in the I'm up to 79. I just did the Mixus Brothers today, or I filmed them on Friday, but I just posted it today. So 79.
I have subscribed to your channel, so I actually get the emails. So
cool. Yeah. And I don't, I came to the conclusion a while ago that I'm not doing it for likes. I'm not doing it for whatever. I'm comfortable just doing it and enjoying it. And that's my satisfaction, and having the bands be exposed and discovering new music. That's all. But I appreciate you subscribing, but I don't know, like my buddy Weird Paul, he's like, that's what he lives for, subscribers. He's like, so great. It's like he wakes up every morning and like it's the best.
Okay, guys. So what you need to do is check out the Pennsylvania Rock Show each and every Friday. We release the show. I was sort of ready. I had the website open. I just didn't have my scroll to where I needed to be. So on July 1st, we have Foo Bar. On the 10th. Wow, I did math wrong there somewhere. I got to check my dates.
And I was surprised. Like you coordinated this a couple months ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said, "Hey, I have June 26th open." I'm like, "Man, are you that like ahead of it?" And I guess you are. Yeah.
So what I do is like I go until I have like 2 or 3 bands on my list, and then I go and schedule a whole bunch.
Yeah. That's what I guess that's what I kind of did with the studio show, because it's so hard to coordinate. So I had the whole year planned out with bands, and it just fell to the wayside. So I'm trying to have a couple of them have been on the regular show. So, but
so that Foo Bar show is actually July 3rd.
Okay,
and then July 10th is the Whelming Waters. The 17th is Keith Hawkins, who is actually a professional drummer in New Orleans, but he's originally from Pittsburgh.
Nice. Yeah.
And then on the 24th, we'll have Bethlehem on, coming off of their live CD release that they're doing on the 17th. Modern Welfare on July 31st. And then we jump ahead to September 18th with Royal Honey. So if you would like to be on the show between July 31st and September 18th, now's a good time to email me or find me on Facebook.
Right on. No, that's awesome. That's awesome that you're doing this, and I know the bands appreciate it, and you know, we're in the same boat, that it's like we enjoy it. We enjoy doing this, you know, and I think that comes through with you. So
Thank
thanks. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to leave you guys to a couple more tracks from Pennsylvania, and then John Lane from the Hellfire Club will take us on our way out. And Hugh and I are going to have a short conversation off the air, so we will catch you guys all later.
Peace.